Listen closely because what we're covering today is absolutely not a set of casual lifestyle suggestions. Treat this explainer as a critical, life-saving medical briefing. If you are over the age of 60, your body is currently undergoing severe biological shifts that leave your cellular defenses dangerously vulnerable. Today, we are going to outline exact, highly evidence-based protocols derived directly from clinical oncology research. The goal here is to aggressively counteract these vulnerabilities and literally starve rogue cells before they ever have the chance to multiply. Okay, let's dive into this. Consider the data for a moment. A landmark 9-year study published by researchers at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center followed over 3,200 adults past the age of 55. And the data revealed a truly staggering metric: a 47% drop in the risk of cancer recurrence among those who consistently utilize specific metabolic disruptors in their diet. Think about that. That is nearly half. We are not talking about passive ingredients here. These are active agents that functionally sever the supply lines to tumor cells. Now, to understand why this intervention is an absolute necessity, we have to confront a pretty harsh biological reality. As you can clearly see, after age 60, your liver actually loses up to 40% of its natural capacity to neutralize environmental carcinogens. Your body's primary filtration system is operating at a severe deficit. You simply can no longer rely on your baseline biology to clear out malignant threats. You must intervene. So, our very first intervention targets this specific deficit. Based on Johns Hopkins University data, we really need to clearly distinguish between mature broccoli and its 3-day-old sprout counterpart. These young sprouts contain up to 100 times more of a crucial compound called sulforaphane. Think of it this way. If a cancer cell is a factory that never shuts down, relentlessly producing energy and replicating, sulforaphane acts as a master switch that forcefully cuts the power to that factory. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how it happens, through the NRF2 pathway. Sulforaphane actively triggers this precise gene regulatory switch. By activating it, you're effectively rebooting that declining detoxification system we saw just a moment ago. You are forcibly turning your body's dormant, natural cancer-suppressing proteins back online. Here is the exact clinical protocol. First, you must consume 1/2 cup of fresh sprouts daily. Secondly, and this is absolutely critical, you must never apply heat. Heat completely destroys myrosinase, which is the vital enzyme required to activate the sulforaphane in the first place. Finally, pair those sprouts with a pinch of mustard seed powder. Clinical studies dictate that this specific combination increases the absorption of sulforaphane by up to 4 times. Precision here is simply non-negotiable. The severe biological efficacy of this protocol is incredibly well documented. Take the clinical case of Gloria, age 67. She presented with atypical cells following a routine breast cancer screening. After 3 months of rigorously applying this daily sulforaphane protocol, alongside other targeted interventions, her follow-up biopsy returned completely clean. Food, when applied with scientific precision, dictates cellular outcomes. Let's move to our next point and see how this builds into a second, severe biological threat after age 70, immune senescence. This is the sharp, dangerous decline of your body's natural immune surveillance. Basically, your biological radar for detecting rogue cells begins to fail. To combat this, oncology research points to a compound called EGCG found in green tea. It essentially acts as a cellular bloodhound, forcefully tagging abnormal cells so your aging immune system can actually find and destroy them. And the impact of this cellular bloodhound is profound. A massive meta-analysis conducted at the National Cancer Institute reviewed over 51 individual studies. The conclusion? Consistent green tea consumption yielded a 28% reduced incidence of several aggressive malignancies, specifically colorectal, bladder, and ovarian cancers. But listen, throwing a standard tea bag into boiling water is not going to yield these medical benefits. You must execute this exact extraction protocol. Heat your water to exactly 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not boil it. Steep it for 3 to 5 minutes. Then add a squeeze of lemon juice. The vitamin C actually protects the EGCG from digestive breakdown, which increases absorption an astounding 13 times. And you must strictly avoid dairy. Dairy proteins completely bind to and neutralize the EGCG, rendering the entire protocol completely useless. We now turn to the biological background noise of aging over 65. It's called inflammaging. This is a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation that essentially acts as highly fertile soil for cancer to take root and rapidly expand. You cannot merely hope this inflammation subsides on its own. You must enforce a severe anti-inflammatory intervention to change that cellular environment entirely. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the enemy's defenses can be dismantled. Cancer cells within an aging, inflamed body utilize a protein complex called NFKB. Think of this as a survival shield that protects malignant cells from your immune system. Well, curcumin, the highly studied active compound in turmeric, functionally strips this protective shield right away, leaving the cancer cells entirely exposed and vulnerable to destruction. However, consuming turmeric arbitrarily is biologically useless. The body just rejects it. To force absorption, you must adhere to this delivery protocol. Take half a teaspoon of turmeric and urgently pair it with piperine, which is the active compound in black pepper. This specific combination is clinically required to boost absorption by an incredible 2,000%. Additionally, because curcumin is fat-soluble, you've got to combine it with a healthy fat like coconut oil to transport it effectively right into your cells. When executed flawlessly, the data is undeniable. Consider Margaret, age 72, who was diagnosed with stage 1 colon cancer. By rebuilding her intake strictly around these synergistic compounds, not only did she remain cancer-free 4 years post-surgery, but her inflammatory markers plummeted to the range of a healthy 45-year-old. She starved the vulnerability by completely altering the molecular signaling of her body. The structural integrity of your cells is our next crucial priority. Malignancy is defined by aggressive, uncontrolled division. Omega-3 fatty acids physically incorporate themselves into the membranes of all cells, including cancer cells, forcing them to become rigid and highly resistant to division. This is absolutely critical for patients over 75 because as we age, the human body loses a significant portion of its capability to synthesize these compounds naturally. The resulting mortality reduction is severe, and it is highly documented. According to data published by Harvard Medical School, adults who consistently maintain their omega-3 intake experienced a massive 42% lower cancer-related mortality rate compared to those who did not. So, the crucial point here is sourcing and administration. You must source small, wild-caught fish, specifically sardines or mackerel. Why? Because they reside at the bottom of the food chain, allowing you to strictly avoid the neurotoxins and heavy metals found in much larger fish. You require 3 4-ounce servings weekly. Furthermore, pair this intake with olive oil. The polyphenols in the oil and the omega-3s in the fish trigger a documented synergistic effect that literally forces programmed cancer cell death. We must now confront what is arguably the ultimate underlying driver of cancer risk in the over 60 demographic. The data reveals an alarming reality. Compared to a healthy young adult, an aging body experiences a massive 30 to 50% loss of vital bacterial diversity in the gut microbiome. You are quite literally losing the microscopic infantry required to defend your system. This state of severe degradation is called dysbiosis, and it dictates the overall strength of your immune surveillance. If your microbiome is just a barren landscape, damaged by decades of stress, antibiotics, and poor diet, your immune system simply lacks the signals it needs to hunt down rogue cells. Naturally fermented foods are the required, non-negotiable intervention to aggressively repopulate this environment. And the rapid efficacy of this repopulation was definitively proven by the Stanford University School of Medicine. Their data confirmed that a daily intake of fermented foods yields a rapid 19% increase in immune cell activity, alongside a measurable systemic reduction in the inflammatory proteins directly implicated in cancer progression. To execute the microbiome restoration protocol, you must consume 2 to 4 tablespoons of naturally fermented, lacto-fermented foods like high-quality kimchi or sauerkraut every single day. Standard vinegar brines are useless here. Secondly, strictly do not apply heat. Heating instantly exterminates the live cultures you're trying to ingest. Finally, you must pair this with a prebiotic fiber, such as a cooked and cooled sweet potato. That prebiotic acts as a necessary fertilizer to ensure your newly introduced bacteria actually survive and multiply. So let's bring this all together. Yes, the biological decline that begins at age 60 is a severe vulnerability, but let me be perfectly clear. It is absolutely not a death sentence. The foods and protocols we have meticulously outlined today are not passive calories. They are potent molecular signals. When administered with clinical precision, they forcefully direct your aging cells to push back against disease, to fight harder, and to shut down malignant activity before it takes hold. As we conclude this medical briefing, you really must confront the reality of your daily choices. The science is definitive, and the protocols are established. You are in control of the molecular information you send into your system. So ask yourself right now, are you passively feeding your biological vulnerabilities, or are you actively executing the protocol to starve them? The defense of your body is in your hands. Act accordingly.